It's November 18th and it's 6:50 in the morning and I'm in my mom's office. I've got a little stand-up desk set up here and I'm going to try to do maybe a 30-minute morning session. Okay, so by the end of today I'm supposed to be at 30,000. Oh my gosh, my word count is higher than I thought. It's at 27,000. I think instead of trying to get 4,000 to 5,000 words in one go, I'm going to break it up in little sprints throughout the day, hopefully. So we'll see. So 30 minutes, and here we go. Okay, I need to sit down. Whew. I wrote about 600 words, a little more than, and I also figured that as I was writing the scene and thinking about things that could happen, and my characters are speaking and figuring out options, I figured out long-term a path that they could take through the story. The plot that I had come up with so far for the overarching story. I kind of feel like I could see that whole plot through in less than the length of a book, if that makes sense. Like the book would end up being very short. But now, having written this scene and figuring out more future courses of action, I think that we've got more of a book here. I feel like I should recap what I did yesterday at the cafe. So we were there for like an hour and a half or two, and let me look up my word count. Oh, so I wrote about 1,200 words yesterday, thus finishing part 1 of the story. So part 1 is, so at least right now, the first 11 chapters of the story, the first 25,000 words. And I have 8 parts in this story. Now that's not to say that I think this is going to be a 200,000 word book, because I don't. I don't expect every part to be the same length, of course. And I think the first part was so long because the first part focuses on the first setting. Once they move to a new setting, then the part changes, and each part kind of has a different thing that it focuses on, whether it's a specific setting, whether it's a specific themes, whether it's like the things that the characters are learning, so specific plot elements, whether there's a specific character that it's focusing on in that story, like that they're learning about. So I'm in part 2 now, and I'm really excited about that. So 600 words down, 4,000 more to go. Yeah. Wish me luck. We're on puppy duty today. So there's little Satu chewing on her little toy remote. Satu! Satu! It'll be very interesting trying to write 4,000 more words today. No, but she is the best kind of distraction. You know, I saw somewhere that like children allow you to live in the moment. And I think dogs are the same way, because they're both just like whatever they want it now. They don't care about the future, they want it now. Nice too. Hello. So it's really late. It's almost midnight. It's 11 p.m. It's November 19th, and I just finished editing my London vlog. So that's going up now. Today I went to a local write-in for NaNoWriMo here in Virginia, and that was nice. It was just a few other people there, and it was just a couple hours in the library, and that was really cool, getting to chat with the other writers. I didn't do a whole lot. I wrote like 700 words, 800 words or something while I was there, but that was mainly because of just hitting another roadblock in the story, not really knowing what to write next, or feeling doubtful about what I was writing next. So I am almost at 30,000 words. I am at 29,553, and so very close. I'm probably like 2,000 words behind though where I'm supposed to be today, and I think it's going to be very tricky catching up anytime soon if I can't figure out what I'm doing with this story in the next few chapters. Good morning, it's Sunday, November 20th, and we're going to get our flu shot this morning. So I'm going to talk you through some of my thoughts, not too many thoughts honestly, while I make some cereal for breakfast. So I am feeling, as much as I need to push forward in my word count, I also want to make sure that I'm at least going in a semi-sensible direction. Like, I don't want to just write a bunch of words that as I'm writing them I know that I'm going to be getting rid of all of them and going somewhere in a different direction. So I'm not saying I want the story to be perfect, but I just want the story to be usable. So I'm thinking that I need to dedicate a day to outlining / brainstorming some next few steps. It's not so much that I need to know exactly what's going to happen next. I just need to know what could happen next. I need a list of scenes or plot events that could happen next at least most given points, because I just feel so lost. I'm tired of every time I finish a scene not knowing what's going to happen next, and I'm tired of every time I'm ready to sit down and start a scene, I couldn't for the life of me think of something that would happen. Sometimes it leads to something good. Like, I don't mind having this every now and then, but it just feels like it keeps happening every single time. And I'd rather it happen like after a few chapters. So I'm thinking tomorrow I want to go to Barnes & Noble. As for today, maybe I'll try to push through this next scene one more time and then dedicate tomorrow to outlining, or maybe I'll try to do some outlining today and then continue outlining tomorrow. So it's November 20th, it's the nighttime now, and I just wrote 2,256 words. So now my total word count's like 31,400-ish. And I'm supposed to be at all threes today, 33,333. So obviously still a couple thousand words behind, but I'll insert a picture of my stats chart in the NaNoWriMo website. As you can see, for the last few days I have been steadily staying just the same amount of behind as I have been the last few days. So at least I'm still keeping up. And it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, you know. Well, I don't know what's gonna happen. We've got 10 days left, folks. So I still plan to go to Barnes & Noble tomorrow to do some outlining, although I did just move the plot along a little bit. I wrote chapter 14 just now, finished it. I did recycle about 600 words from Storm Cloud, but I also wrote like 1,600 words from scratch and it's around that to kind of cement it into this story. So I feel good about what I did. I also broke into part 3 of the book. So that means part 2 is only 3 chapters long. Part 1 was like 11 chapters long. I think I'm going to do one of 3 things here. I'm either going to swap parts 2 and part 3 so that the thing that's supposed to happen in part 3 actually happens in part 2 and vice versa, or I'm going to go back later and add a few more chapters to part 2 just to kind of beef it up a little bit, because some things need to happen, or I just need to flesh that part out. So that's the second thing I might do. And the third thing I might do is just combine parts 2 and 3 into one part. They both take place in the same location. I'm not sure that they need to be separated. Hello, it's November 21st, it's Monday, and it's just after noon. I've got a tea here from Barnes & Noble because I was just sitting there. I went to the cafe. I don't know what it was. So I was there and I was like, okay, I'm ready to do some outlining on Project Whisper. And so I was setting up my music. I was listening through some new music, which I like to do when I'm writing anyway. And I had my outline open. I didn't even open my manuscript yet. And I just couldn't get into it. And I kept having all these like doubts in the story coming up to the surface in my mind, like just thinking about what's not working in the story, not feeling super connected to it today, feeling like certain elements I could have changed more. Like there's some things it has in common with Project Stormcloud. Like obviously aside from the fact that it's a spin-off of the same world, there are some things in particular that it has in common with Stormcloud, and I could have changed those things so that it feels even more removed. I guess I could just make a change going forward and just pretend like it's been that way the whole time, and then in a revision I can go back and make that change. So I was only there for about an hour at Barnes & Noble, and I was just feeling this really strong pull away from the story in my chest. It was really just like this physical feeling where I could not wait, so I just needed to leave. So I feel kind of bad about that. It doesn't feel like a permanent feeling. That's the thing. It feels like a temporary feeling, like where I just need to maybe get some distance for a day or a few hours. So just feeling some doubt, feeling like I'm losing a little bit of faith in my story. And I guess that's just something that happens at this point in the draft. Like I'm over 31,000 words now. Normally in past drafts I found that I hit a slump between 20 and 30,000 words, but I actually had a slump before 20,000 and then now after 30,000 words. So it's always nice to shake things up and keep things interesting. I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy some ingredients for a butternut squash soup that my mom really wants me to make, and then I'll make that for dinner tonight, and that's going to hopefully sustain us through to Thanksgiving, because we're cooking a big meal for Thanksgiving. We've got like 10 people coming over, including ourselves. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's my favorite holiday. Good evening. I come to you with a new nose ring, but it's the day after Thanksgiving. It's the 25th, and today has just been a day to recover from Thanksgiving. I never took a picture of the food. We had 9 people over, I think, including ourselves, and it was so much fun. It's family, friends that feel like family. Anyway, I'm only here not so much to provide a writing update, although I can give you one in that I have not written in several days. I actually did manage to write 99 words like the day before Thanksgiving. I started to write and then was just like not feeling it. And I've been playing The Sims ever since, basically. But I just had an idea where, do you ever feel like your imagination when you're writing is limited by your own imagination? Like you want to create things that are wild and fantastical, but then your own brain can't conjure up clear images? Or is that just me? Like sometimes I have a hard time conjuring up clear images of things that I don't like see concretely. Does that make sense? Pretty much all of my world building, most of my world building is like very grounded in the real world, like, you know, the actual, like, my world. If I watch a movie and I glean some inspiration from the movie, I'm like, okay, well, what's the Stormcloud version of that? Everything is based on something in reality, and I don't want to be limited to that. Even the things that are kind of fantastical in the world, it's hard for me to describe them when I'm writing sometimes because I can't really picture them, so I'll write like things that kind of feel like nonsense, and I just need to lean into that more and embrace that more. Maybe do a little bit of drawing or ask my husband to draw something because he's really good at that. Just lean into the whimsical and the fantastical a bit more. So I think tomorrow or the next day I'm going to try to do an exercise where I think of 3 to 5 3 to 5 fantastical, ridiculous things that will probably feel ridiculous as I'm coming up with them, but hopefully will be an exercise in expanding my imagination. This feels like a weird thing to admit, especially as a writer who's been working on stories and writing for several years. Like, you'd think I'd have these things figured out by now. There's always things to learn, always things to work on and figure out and get better at. So. Okay, excuse whatever mess you may or may not see behind me. It's the 27th. It's like probably 9 p.m. I can't tell you how many times today I have picked up my laptop, opened up my outlines, opened up my notes, opened up my manuscript, and just tried to make fetch happen, and it just was not happening. Basically, I start to feel sorry for myself. I start to feel a little aimless, a little directionless, a little indecisive. First of all, what I've worked on this month, okay, I wrote almost 32,000 words. Most of that is from scratch. Maybe about 30,000 words of that or whatever is from scratch. So like, I don't want to discount that achievement because that's over 100 pages of a book that I didn't know would exist, a couple months ago. And I'd like to be able to like mentally and emotionally celebrate that achievement. Maybe now what I need is just to like fill the creative well. Maybe the well is just empty and it's masking itself as doubt. It's masking itself as indecision. Don't discount your accomplishments, folks, and don't be too hard on yourself. That's the lesson to learn here this month. And this is where the plot twists or thickens or however you want to do it. It's the next day. Putting a pin in Project Whisper for the time being. Yesterday when I kept opening and closing my laptop and like not really being able to work, I kept opening the outline for Storm Cloud and just trying to, my attempts were to familiarize myself with the last version of this plot because obviously it changes with each draft and I couldn't remember exactly how I'd left it, even though I was last working on it in August of this year, so just a couple months ago. What I've done is basically I've made a brand new outline. I call it Draft 13. Do you know I have not had a full, complete draft of the story since I think draft 8.8? Every draft since then, every draft has been like a partial draft. It's been everything from like just the first couple of chapters to like half of the book. Either losing my momentum and then coming back to it later with new ideas, or just getting to a certain point and realizing that the plot is not going to work as it is. But all of that has left me with a few avenues that I could go down. So I'm fleshing out some world building elements like the court system, giving that a little bit more detail. And I'm also looking at taking the story from just 3 parts to like having several parts. So I don't know exactly how many yet, but I figured out what the first 3 parts are about. So now I'm looking to see what the rest of the parts could contain, and then I'll figure out what order is best, and continuing to do some world building as I play with this. So that's what I'm doing now. Speaking yesterday of filling the creative well, I wanted to mention a couple of things recently that I've watched and filled the well with that I found some inspiration from. So a discovery of which is I'm watching now on AMC Plus, and then also we watched Wednesday on Netflix, so Wednesday Addams. And I've also been listening to a lot of new music. I'll point out some standouts to you. Love You Forever by Verite, 2 Summers by Sunbeam Sound Machine, and also Is It Time by Bayonne. Just some music recommendations for myself. If you like indie music, if you like alternative music, they're all very different sounds. My monkey, my monkey, my monkey, my monkey, my monkey. Give me my monkey back. Look at those eyes. Look at those eyes. Give me the monkey. Give me my monkey. I got the monkey. I got the monkey. Ready? Go get it. Good girl. It is 5:20 p.m. and me and my husband just got back from Barnes & Noble. We were there for like 90 minutes. I just worked on the Storm Cloud outline. So what I did at Barnes & Noble, I had the first 3 parts of the story kind of already sussed out. And then I had parts 5 through 8 where I had some descriptions of things that could happen, but I wasn't quite sure the order yet. And I also talked about a few days ago to you guys that I was going to do some world building of fantastical and whimsical stuff. So I did do that, and in this list I also included a couple of things that I've already come up with that have already been incorporated into the story. And I was also looking at different concepts of things that exist in the world in the story or that have existed in prior drafts. Looking at, okay, does this thing still exist in this story? And if so, how do we go about it where it makes sense with what I'm building now for draft 13? Hopefully lucky number 13. So a couple of things are being moved to a later book, or just are not as big of a deal as they once were. A couple of things are going to be more of a historical thing, like instead of it happening in this book, it's just something that happened previously in the world that maybe affects the current story, but just doesn't currently take place, if that makes sense. I don't want to overload this story with too much, you know. And then another thing I want to make sure that I do is ground the story in Race's character development. Because what I've done in the past is kind of gotten lost between her character development and the overarching plot of the story. But we'll see how that turns out when I get to drafting. And speaking of which, last thing, I don't want to spend too much time outlining to the point where I lose all of my excitement and momentum for the story and then just never get around to drafting, because that is something I feel like I'm very good at doing, especially with Stormcloud. So I think that tomorrow or the day after I'm going to start drafting. Hello. Okay, so it's the last day of the month. It's November 30th. It's like 12:30, 12:40. I just did the treadmill, 35 minutes. And I listened to Beyonce's Renaissance album. That album is the only thing really making me enjoy running on the treadmill. I listened from the beginning of the album, and then I changed my incline and my speed based on the tempo of the song and the beat. And I'll do like a model walk while I'm on the treadmill. I'll act out the words. I'm like, it's a full dance party. But the main reason I went on the treadmill today is because I was feeling a little antsy. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Went to bed late because I was up playing The Sims. So I was running a business, a bakery and bookstore, if you must know. And I was up till like 1:30 in the morning playing that game. It was so bad. And then this morning my mom had to go to work early. We had to watch the puppy tattoo. So I was up from like 6 to 9 a.m. or something with her watching A Discovery of Witches, making her breakfast, making myself some eggs and bacon and stuff with some leftover cornbread from Thanksgiving. And then I did a little bit of writing or outlining this morning on Stormcloud. I did my index cards as well, which you may have already seen. Basically just getting my scenes in order and then sorting them under each part. So there's 8 parts. I have figured out the order of them. And I've also figured out some good ways to wrap up the end of the story. Like I think I know what the climax is. I know how the story ends. I know how like all of the major plots end. There's a major character who helps her figure out. I think the puppy wants to come in. Tattoo, come in. Look at her. I finally got the rubber band on her head because her bangs are so long that she can't really see. I got her. Anyway, I've done enough planning and outlining that I think I might be able to write now. Or like I said, create the manuscript and then copy and paste old scenes where they're supposed to be, put bracket descriptions to say how certain scenes I've already written are going to change, or like what scenes are going to go where, and then start writing. So I think I'm going to do that today. And if I make some good headway with that, then I'm going to let myself play The Sims for the rest of the day. But I'm going to put it away no later than like 8 or 8:30 because I can't do another 1 a.m. day. I will check in with you later on today or tomorrow to wrap up NaNoWriMo altogether. It's been a fun month. Certainly one of the more interesting NaNoWriMos I've had, if not the most interesting for sure. These are my index cards for the whole novel. I've got my cup of tea from Barnes & Noble yesterday. It's the holiday tea. I love it. John says it tastes like attic dust. I don't think he's wrong, but I really like it in tea form for some reason. I'm about to crack open this manuscript, y'all. Start copying and pasting. Wish me luck. Miss Tattoo is over there sniffing around to make sure I get my work done. It's December 1st, and it's the day that everyone's putting their Spotify, year in reviews, Spotify wrap stuff up. And I don't have Spotify, I have Apple Music, so feel sorry for me all you want, but I do have some stats to share with you if you're at all interested. Listen to 2,132 songs, Beach House. The rest of these are just beach house songs. Okay. As you can see, I really love that album. That album just spoke to me. And then here we go. All the artists: Lola Marsh of Monsters and Men, Taylor Swift, O Wonder, and Beyonce. Hello, so it is December 1st. I just wanted to recap the month of NaNoWriMo. So, total words, 31,908 words out of 50,000. No, I did not win, but I still feel like I had a very fantastic month. I've got a screenshot here on the screen of my NaNoWriMo page. As you can see, it's been an interesting month. We've had a lot of ups and downs in the beginning of the month, and then I just plateaued. November 23rd is the last day that I wrote anything, and it was 99 words. So I kind of have been realizing over the last few years, but I've never actually counted, that my attention span for being invested in a story is probably around 3 weeks, which is not very long at all. And considering that I had been working on at least like the outline and the planning of the story in October, the NaNoWriMo started, and I really only stuck with the writing aspect of it for about 3 weeks, give or take. So that's reflected here. I think that when my attention span for writing fades, at the same time we see an emergence of more doubt, more questioning, like what even is my story? Just starting to pick apart things that are wrong with it when there's really no need to do that because it's an early story, and just it's part of the roller coaster of writing. My best word count was 5,030 on November 15th. Okay, so that's when we were home by then. So that's a pretty good day. I had a good month. I'm proud of myself. This wasn't my time to win NaNoWriMo, evidently, but I still believe maybe my 10th year, next year, will be the year. Who knows? But on another note, just to kind of wrap up this vlog, I wanted to just tell you what I'm working on now, what I've been working on today. So I am outlining storm clouds still. What I have done today is I have basically kind of wrapped up my outline. I opened up a manuscript draft and I just, in accordance with my outline, I basically just made a new manuscript and started taking old scenes and putting them in their new place in the manuscript. I did a chapter listing. I have the story separated into parts, and so now the entire manuscript is pretty much there, which also includes like bracket scene descriptions of scenes I still have to write. All in all, draft 13 of Stormcloud has currently, before I really started writing, has 37 chapters. And now, instead of 8 parts, as I was working on the story today, I realized that 3 of the parts could be combined, and then 2 of the other parts could be combined. So we're now down to just 5 parts. And then the manuscript of old scenes, I have, gosh, where is it? 71,864 words to work with. So we're already at 71,000 words. Now, obviously, I have to go back and like rewrite scenes, take out some bits that are no longer relevant, move some things around, write new scenes from scratch. I am really excited. So that's my plan for December. That is all that I have for you this month. I really hope that you enjoyed coming along for the NaNoWriMo wild ride. My mom is yelling at that too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, one more thing. If I don't happen to put another video up before the end of the year, Happy New Year!